How do we remember a champion? Do we think of their accomplishments, their triumphs, their competitive attitude that led them to dominate the competition?
I generally thrive on the pressure, and the Sykes generally has to go back on the other blokes to catch us if they can, and that's the way we're approaching it. Tonight we want to win.
Or do we remember them for the person they were, that human factor? They had genuine time for their fans, a showman but a gentleman, simply a good bloke. George Tatnell is remembered for all these reasons. Every part a champion, every part an Aussie Speedway legend.
I don't think you'll ever find anyone that was more passionate about the sport and the business of sprint car racing. He would never ask me to do something that he couldn't do or wouldn't do. He was a hard and passionate man. He demanded the best out of you.
Today, he's remembered with a trophy, the George Tatnell Cup. A race that's been run for the last 5 years, but in 2013, it combines with ENZED World Series Sprintcars for the first time. Quite apt considering GT won the first ever World Series crown back in 1988. He backed it up the following year.
Sydney's George Tatnell and the Winfield team machine are champs again with 3-round victories. Take a bow, GT.
I think with the George Tatnell Cup being tied in with World Series was his baby. This was something that he wanted to see thrive, and I think he'd be very proud of where the sport is today.
While this race is not in his home state of New South Wales, Adelaide was the scene of so much of his success. When he won the Australian sprint car titles here, also in 1988, he became the first driver to win both speed car and sprint car titles. A feat that's only been achieved twice since.
We're running out of years to run competitively at the top, and the kid's knocking at the door already, so I reckon that I need to win this one because the next one I won't win.
On Boxing Day 2006, also here in Adelaide, Tatnell was made an inaugural member of the Australian Speedway Hall of Fame. It was to be his final accomplishment in a sport he had dedicated his life to. As sadly, less than 5 months later, just after his 68th birthday, he lost his life to cancer.
As a kid, I got to grow up with my Superman. My dad was my superhero, he's my best friend. I don't get covered too much about my dad, but this one would have been special to be here. Yeah.
Special race meeting to honour one of Australia's greatest ever speedway races. Hi everyone and welcome to Adelaide Speedway City for the George Tatnell Cup, but also round 8 of ENZED World Series Sprintcars presented by Hog's Breath Cafe. It's our second trip to Adelaide. It's the only track that we visit twice on the calendar, and the last round before we head west for the Western Swing. So to the championship table and how it looks at the minute after 7 rounds. Well, James McFadden, what a commanding lead that is over Jason Johnson, who's now returned to the USA as well, so it gets even better for J-Mac, and Shane Stewart, who's moved into 3rd and will probably take 2nd spot here tonight. Further down the list, we've got Stephen Lyons, who did very well here in Adelaide last time, and Luke Dillon, who won the opening round here. South Australians should once again be the guys to watch. Yes, it was Luke Dillon who took out that opening round win, and he needs to get some points back by claiming another win here tonight. And could we see once again an all-South Australian podium?
It's time now for qualifying here at Speedway City in South Australia on Supple Road, Virginia. Even the Hoggy is down here mixing with the fans. Fire up, they say at Hog's Breath. That's what we're about to do in Revolution Race Gear qualifying. Now, dramas for Philip Marsh. The South Aussie veteran here has fire issues that were also compounded by a universal issue down between his legs. The drive line runs inside a torque tube right between the driver's ankles and between their legs. It's actually blown apart. And Philip, very, very lucky not to sustain more serious injury. Here's a bloke, Jack Perkins, with a load of experience around this track. He also is a veteran, though a very young one at that. Jamie Cobby in the number 67 car. The Ray Bartlett Racing 67 Sinorama entry. Pretty sharp here.
That's the car that V8 supercar driver Tim Slade had a bit of a run in last season as well, so it's good to see Cobby back in that machine. We see Kyle Hurst in the 99 machine. This is the second time the championship visits Speedway City in Adelaide. The first time was for the first round, and now we're here for the prestigious George Tatnell Cup.
Yeah, exactly right. The first time the event has actually been married together, remembering one of the true greats of Australian Speedway, George Tatnell. Hurst has done a phenomenal job over the last few weeks in that Maxim chassis. Here is J-Mac, James McFadden, looking to avenge some disappointment here on the first night of Speed Week, where he cut down a tyre at 12.667, locks the totally workwear car into position number 4.
So we see Dave Murcott in the Q83, absolutely flat out trying to get the best of it. He's third fastest with a 12.5.
He's always lethal around this place, is the Dave Horrell Motorsport number 83 driver. And likewise, this bloke has some fond memories of Speedway City this year. Remember, he won the first 2 rounds kicking off at this event on Speed Week. He times in second quickest at 12.534. You don't reckon he's happy to be home, Jack?
He would be, absolutely. Winning the first 2 rounds of the season was a great way to start the season for Luke Dillon. As we see Steve Lyons, 12.493. That's quick time. A great way to start the evening. He's infield with Chad.
Well, this guy's a bit of a master at qualifying, and it's another quick time for Stephen Lyons. Well done.
Yeah, it's been great. Obviously, we've been given a good car, so it's good to make the most of it early and get some points on the board, and let's see if we can make a night of it.
On the subject of points, is this championship over or what? Are you still in this thing?
Oh, we're still in it, but we obviously need a bit of luck. James did such a good job early in the year and got away for a good lead, so they were the best car, and now we've got to try and chase them down. But we'll see how we go. Keep beating away and see where we end up.
I know that the South Australian connection's been strong here this season. You can continue that tonight.
Yeah, for sure. We'll give it our best shot.
Yeah, he's all business right now, Stephen Lyons. Not much to smile about. Even though he set quick time, he's already thinking, how can I win this main and get some points back on the series leader? Dillon, Murcott, McFadden, Hurst and Cobby, the top 6. Stewart, Robbie Farr, Brad Keller and Dan Pesca. Good job for Pesca back home and obviously enjoying that as well. Only 0.4 of a second separating the top 10. It's going to be a hot old night in Adelaide.
You know, some big numbers get thrown around when it comes to just how much power a sprint car engine makes. Speedway guys will brag that these engines can pump out over 850 horsepower. But I guess there's only one way to be really sure. Put one on the dyno.
Whoa, wait up. Sorry, hold your horsepower. Before we do that, let's take a quick look at what makes up a sprint car motor. And this immaculate factory should be just the place to do that, as this is where KRE engines are made.
The anatomy of a sprint car motor is pretty much the same of any road-going V8. First up, we have our engine block. It has all 8 cylinders made of aluminium. Inside the block, we have our crankshaft, which is connected to 8 conrods and 8 pistons. Moving up, we have our cylinder head. Of course, we have 2 of these because they sit at each end of the V. We have 16 valves, 2 for each cylinder and a spring for each valve. Moving these, we have the rockers, push rods and lifters. This all sits underneath the big cover. We have a fuel system and spark, and every motor needs oil. You put all this together, you have the very basic makeup of a sprint car engine.
So then, how do they make so much power? Well, the fact that it's a 6.7 litre V8 revving to over 8,000 RPM helps, but the real secret lies in the lightweight parts that make up the cylinder heads I mentioned earlier, and the high rate in which it burns its methanol fuel. But the astonishing thing is, with all these ingredients, you could actually make even more power. But then you'd be sacrificing reliability. Remember, they need to run flat out for a long time. Well, when I say a long time, they only last about 15 nights of racing before they need to be refreshed or replaced. In road car terms, that'd be like getting your motor serviced every 6 hours. Anyway, enough talk. Let's see what this bad boy can do. The $50,000 engine is hooked up to the much more expensive dyno. Mr. KRE himself, Ken McNamara, has his hands on the controls. Our goal, the rumoured 850 horsepower mark. After some time to warm up, Kenny Mac gives it a bootful, or should that be handful? The soundproof room is put to the test as the motor screams. The butterflies in the injector stacks open wide, sucking in maximum air. It's amazing how hard this thing is revving. You feel like it could pop at any second. The engine is turning at over 7,000 RPM and still climbing. Keep an eye on the horsepower reading in the red box, top right. Yes! Yes, there it is. It maxes out at 874 horsepower. And then slowly, the RPM drops back down. So there you go. Definitive proof of how much power a sprint car engine makes.
Coming up after the break, there's highlights of the heat racing and we check out an Amadio Wines Open Red. Welcome back. You're watching the ENZED World Series Sprintcars presented by Hog's Breath Cafe, and highlights now of heat racing. Young Jordan Brazier, 16 years of age, and right there in that number 21 car with Ryan Jones, Shane Stewart hustling. Jack, I love early heat races. It's a scramble. Look at this, and not good at all for Shane Stewart.
No, that's a tough break for Stewart there in that monster car. He's got high on the racetrack and got caught up in the wall, and what's happened is the car's rolled over and it's done a bit of damage.
Yes, a fair bit of damage. Just got in too hot. He was only up there by himself. Lines just clipped him as he went through. Watch the front end on this car too when it comes down. It is absolutely just hanging there. Oh, you hate seeing a car ripped up like that. The Monty Motorsport boys have got some work to do. I'm sure that Buzzy and Dylan will have that car back on track for the next heat race. And there is Shane climbing out of the car and assessing the damage there. Back into the highlight action right now, and Jordan Brazier on his way to his first ever World Series Sprint Cars race win, and this is a cool moment for our sport.
It is great to see second and third generation racers out there. Young Jordan did a great job winning that heat. We look now to heat 2 as we see Robbie Farr in the 7 car battling hard after qualifying reasonably well.
Mozzie House there as well, getting more competitive with every outing. Nice job for Sean Bradford to wrap up that heat race win. Steve Caunt there. Pickles Cunningham. Now, if you look at the top wing of Michael Cunningham on the inside, he's actually got a great photo of all 3 of his sons hanging onto the top wing like they're literally strapped on top of it. Oh, Luke Bowie in the Gawler Car World, number 55, unfortunately got some damage there. This is the end result of it. And that 55 car, a budget team with the injectorsonline.com replay catching Luke going in hard, and that'll unfortunately end his night. It's twisted the chassis. There's the Cunningham boys on the wing. Here's the Brazier boy.
Earlier this season, we had a 17-year-old have a win. That was Jake Tranter. But how about this guy, 16 years old, claiming his first ever heat race win at World Series Sprint Cars. What was that like, man?
Oh yeah, it was a thrill. Yeah, it was fast. I can tell you that. It's always good to win a World Series heat race.
I mean, put this into words for us. I mean, this is ENZED World Series. Your dad's won it, and here you are winning heat races.
Yeah, Dad's run a lot of World Series races in his time, but yeah, that was the best race I've ever won in.
Yeah, he's got his mum's personality and his dad's ability driving, so that's a pretty good combination. He's very, very shy, this young bloke. Well, sun starting to set over the top of Speedway City. This gives you a good idea of how fast it is, Jack.
It does. This is a pretty quick circuit. It's quite flat compared to some of the bigger bank tracks, and when that sun sets, it makes it hard for the drivers when they're turning into the sun.
Good to see Jamie Veal here in that active power steering Doherty Brothers number 6 car, and Ricky Mayolo hoping to recover from what was a disastrous Boxing Day for him. Got a nice heat race win there. Pretty. Almost like something you expect from the man from Snowy River. There's the man from Albion Park Rail, however. Steve Caunt hoping to get a win in that number 9 KPC. Man, it's busy. Look at that, 3 wide.
It is busy races. We see Steve Caunt back in that car after Brooke Tatnell ran the last few shows. And a quick touch up to the wall there for Gawler's Leith Alphas. A little bit of damage to that right rear. And the injectorsonline.com replay shows he's just got a little bit wide at the racetrack, caught the fence with the rear, and it's pulled the front over, and that's his heat over.
Crash crew looking like they're about to dive over to make sure he's okay. And that Laka Contracting number 61 car. Pretty handy on a motocross bike is Leith. Oh man, this was ugly. David Blingy Muir in the Titan Garages car. Now this actually injured Blingy's back. It's not so much the flip that does it, it's the contact when he comes down onto the rear end. Watch this here, Jack. He gets over this point right. Now watch this bit right coming down now. Bang! That's what really compresses you, and because we sit so upright in these cars, difficult to avoid injuries in that situation.
It's a real sudden jar as we look at a different replay angle, and we see he's just got caught up with Kyle Hurst there. And from there, it was just a passenger. It's thrown him around like a rag doll, and that last jar right there has done a bit of damage to his back. Unfortunately, he won't be racing the rest of the evening, but best wishes for the rest of the season.
Yeah, Blingy Muir, he's a hard-charging, gas-it-up racer, that's for sure. Have a look at the points after the heat racing, and Robbie Farr doing swimmingly, along with Murcott. Lyons, Keller, Dillon, Cobby, McFadden and Hurst are already into the top 8 shootout. Trevor Green just outside it. Remember, he was the man to beat on the Boxing Day weekend earlier in the night with some good points haul there. A couple of guys having to work very hard. Shane Stewart, look at that. He's currently back in the B main. Here's Chad in the pits with an update on Blingy Muir.
Well, the big talking point from that last round of heats is definitely the big accident involving David Muir in the 36 Titan Cranes car. It came down really hard on this rear end, and unfortunately he's done a bit of a mischief to his back at the minute. He's complaining of lower back soreness, so he is in the back of that ambulance at the moment, and they're going to take him off to hospital for some further observations. But you've got to give the kid credit, walking to the ambulance after an accident like that one. But unfortunately, he had qualified for the A main, but the 36 is no more for tonight.
Brooke Tatnell, welcome back to ENZED World Series Sprintcars. Great to see you back down under, and this time around celebrating 25 years in the sport.
I said last year I wouldn't be back. If I did come back, it was a limited schedule. Really tried hard to put a schedule together with Crickies that would work for everyone. It didn't happen, and I was not going to miss my 25th year.
We're used to seeing you racing the number 8 Shell Helix Maxim, but this time around a new look and a new number. Tell me the significance behind the N25.
Well, there's a huge significance. It was actually my dad's original number in stock cars and through the midgets, hot rods, the late model when you ran that. He never got it for a sprint car, and it was always N5. But, with it being 25 years, and when I started, every Matchbox car I had number 25 on it. My BMX bike had 25 on it.
25 years, a quarter of a century in this sport. Does it feel like time has flown as much for you as it has for us?
It does. I'm still as passionate and love this sport as much as I did when I first started at 16 years old.
You've achieved so much in your time in the sport, and I know it's a hard question, but I have to ask, if you could pinpoint one memory, one achievement that stands out, what would it be?
Look, there's probably two all time. As a kid, I dreamt up wanting to be an Australian speed car champion. That was my goal in life. I'd grown up around them, but to win that first Australian sprint car championship was something that had eluded me for 17 years. I didn't want to be the Sterling Moss, one of the greats that never won that national championship. So it was something that was a driving passion. The other one probably would have been my 4th World Series championship. Alan Felsh was my crew chief, mentor for mechanical side of racing, and I won my 4th championship, and it was the first year he said to me that he didn't want to go on the road full time. But there was a lot of phone calls night after night. I was on the phone, and what was significant about that was it was the year Donny Schatz came out. Donny won the first 6 races. Everyone said the championship was over. There was some dumb cocky kid that kept on saying, it ain't over till the fat lady sings, and I don't hear her gargling or gurgling just yet. So we came from behind and won that championship.
Are there any hard feelings between yourself and Cricky Motorsport?
No, there's no hard feelings. It was a business. We both had to make business decisions. Shane needed someone in the car for the full year. I wasn't prepared to be away from my wife and kids for 3 months whilst my kids were in school. Emma was in school, and this opportunity came up.
Well, I think one of the most famous relationships in this sport is between you and your dad, George, and of course the George Tatnell Cup, now a part of World Series for the first time this year. Tell me about racing with your dad.
Look, as a kid I got to grow up with my Superman. My dad was my superhero, he's my best friend.
Still miss him? Yeah. Well, he was much loved in the whole sport, wasn't he? Everyone's got a story about George.
I don't get cut up too much about my dad, but this one would have been special to be here. Yeah.
Tell me something that not many people know about your dad. He was such a larger-than-life character in the sport. There must be something special that you only saw as a son.
Look, he was a hard and passionate man. He demanded the best out of you, and but the thing about him, and it's probably why when I get asked to help a few of these young guys, I'm probably harder on them than he was on me, because the thing is, he would never ask me to do something that he couldn't do or wouldn't do. So, but he was always the first one there to pick you up, pat you on the back and say, hey, we did our best. If you gave it 120%, that's all I can ever ask for you.
It's a new look World Series Sprint Cars this year. It's almost, one would say, a changing of the guard. What are your thoughts on some of the new faces we're seeing?
It's time to see new faces, but they once said, someone made the statement, it's the changing of the guard. What guard are they talking about? London, over in London or something? This guard's not being changed. Look, I think it's great. I think we've got some very good talent in this sport, and they're getting an opportunity.
Well, if there was a trophy for being passionate about the sport, you'd win it hands down. But the next best thing, a bottle of Amadio Cab Sav. But before you open it, I want to know, if you could choose one person to sit down and share a bottle of wine with, who would it be?
It wouldn't be one person. I'm just, everyone gets to choose one person. I'm a Tatnell, I expect more than one person. Right now it'd be Stephen D'Ancourt, just as appreciation for bringing me back out here for my 25th season.
We might need a cask or two of that wine, I think.
I think we might need it.
Brooke, thanks so much for your time. It's great to see you back on the World Series Trail.
Thank you. Hey, look, there's nothing better than the sprint car racing. There's nothing that's more exciting and exhilarating, and World Series is the pinnacle of sprint car racing anywhere in the world.
We'll be back on the other side of this with the Vortex Wings Top 8 Shootout and the B-Main from Speedway City. So we now have the top 8 cars in points assembling for the Vortex Wings Top 8 Shootout. It's bronze shootout right now. This is 8th, 7th, 6th and 5th in points. They'll all time trial for 3 laps. The fastest 2 will stay on the racetrack. The slowest 2 will start from position 8 and 7. And great job by Jamie Cobby, Jack, to be in this one.
Yeah, it is a great job. This is his first run this season in the World Series in that 67 car, and we'll be looking forward to see what he can do the rest of the evening. But this is such a hard part of the evening. You don't understand how difficult it is. The sun's gone down now, the track's been tuned up, and you've got to get out there and hold that thing flat out and try and get the best time possible to progress through to the silver shootout, because that then gives you a better starting spot for this all-important A-Main.
This Maxim on screen, the high race 24-hour towing entry out of Broken Hill. The driver out of California, Kyle Hurst. That car is for sale. James McFadden now has the number 1, adorning the wing for the first time on World Series since he won the Australian title up at Archerfield in Queensland. 12.175. Nice job for J-Mac.
Let's see now, we look at Jamie Cobby in that 67 machine. This is a local Adelaide car run by Ray Bartlett. Pretty cool to see them out here in this top 8 shootout. As we see the lap time come up now, 12.5. Not quite as quick as James McFadden, but pretty good effort.
Ray Bartlett, of course, a war veteran, an Army veteran. And this car certainly at war right now with Jamie Cobby behind the wheel. Luke Dillon, the action line marking. Hog's Breath Racing, number 81, back on home turf in that Eagle chassis and looking very racy, a 12.56 for Luke.
So it looks like James McFadden and Kyle Hurst will get through to the silver part of the shootout. It was a great effort. Jamie Cobby and Luke Dillon will start the A-Main 7th and 8th.
So McFadden, just see the onboard camera hanging off the back of that number 1 as we see Brad Keller. This guy's got some talent as well. The Fatch and Cartage Contractors entry. Stephen Lyons at the Bridgestone Tyre Centre, Albany, number 3 KPC. The man that owns this car, Brian Hall, based in Albany in Western Australia. The car and team based in Mount Gambier, and it's crew chief by a man named Craig Bennett, who has a phenomenal amount of experience in the sport. Went over and worked for Ron Shaver, legendary American builder Ron Shaver back in the day as well. A lot of experience with Lyons this season.
So look, Bradley Keller now. Let's see what he can clock on the top through turns 3 and 4. Absolutely flat out. It's a 12.755. A little bit slower than Steve Lyons, but let's see if that gets him through to the gold section.
Remember too that Keller ran a stirring 2nd place here on the Speed Week opener, so his confidence will be sky high. Kyle Hurst looking to advance to try and head forward to the gold shootout. 12.502 for Hurst. McFadden now. The timer is on him. What can he do in this Scott and Stephanie Milling owned number 1 totally workwear car?
He's always impressive in these shootouts. Is James McFadden, holds it flat off turn 4, and it's a 12.3. So it's a little bit slower than what he did in the first section of the shootout. but both Steve Lyons and J Mac will transfer through to the gold position.
And now they're joined by the top 2 point scorers, Robbie Farr and the East Coast Pipelines, High-Tech Oils, number 7Q, and David Murcott, a guy that has raced around this circuit many, many times. Adelaide being so centrally located between the west and still close enough to the east, the guys race here quite a bit for the Masters and World Series events. The George Tatnell Cup, of course, being amalgamated here tonight.
These are 4 of the best sprint car drivers in this country. We've got Dave Murcott on screen in that 83 machine. He starts with a 12.317.
Good time for Murky. Always backed by the folks at Oval Express magazine as well. There is McFadden. Gee, cut the corner off there and went right through the middle and still kept his car speed.
He's impressive, J-Mac. Let's see what time he puts on the board. And it's a 12.1. That's what he did in the bronze part of the shootout. He did a 12.3 in the silver one. Let's see if the 12.1 will be good enough to grab pole for the A-main.
Here's the bare-knuckle pub brawler of sprint car racing. I don't mean that in a literal sense. I just mean that Robbie Farr he just elbows up. He's got his fist clenched. He's got his angry eyes on, and he's always going to the front.
And you know he's put in 110% effort in. And speaking of 110% effort, Steve Lyons, this guy knows one way, and that's flat out as he rounds through the corner there. Let's see what time he puts on the board. It's a 12.4, so a little bit slower than J-Mac.
It sets up a front row with James McFadden on pole alongside David Murcott. Let's go down to J-Mac and Chad.
Sure, he was in the bronze shootout, but at the end of the day, he's on pole. How do you do this every week?
We just got a good car behind us, great motor package with KRE, and yeah, it makes my job a lot easier when the equipment's so good.
So it's time now for the B main, your last chance qualifier, thanks to Hog's Breath Cafe. And it's going to be a tough time ahead for some of these contracted drivers to get out of the LCQ or the B main and get themselves into the big dance. As we push them away. Shane Stewart, we know, will line up on the front row, and Pitt doing a very nice job. Can he get himself into the big show? You've got contracted drivers Nick Lacey trying to get through, Steve Cornt as well, Mark House. So really last chance to get it done, Jack.
There's a lot of guys not having the night they would have liked so far. We saw Shane Stewart early in the heat races tear up a bit of damage in that monster car. So a lot of people need to get through, get into the top 6 and get into that all-important A-main.
Hayden Pitt there on screen in the number 87 car, along with fellow South Aussie Leith Alforce. They're rolling around, packing this track in. Good crowd here in the house for the George Tatnell Cup, remembering one of the greats, one of the most flamboyant, unique, passionate, stand on the gas races that there ever was. Honoured here at Speedway City with the George Tatnell stand, right where our camera position is here, coming down into turn 1. Stewart, he gets railed on the bottom by Pitt. Well done, the young Adelaide boy.
Yeah, that's a great effort. Shane Stewart's no slouch out there, so it'd be good to race against him in this stage. We look back in the pack, Ricky Mayola's in there, Nick Lacey up on the high line. They're all battling hard to get through.
Now, Mark Wells is driving the Pigton Motorsports car, being subbed in while Trent spends some time at home with his new baby as Stewart goes rocketing by Hayden Pitt. Now, it's important for Hayden now to stay on the gas and try and lock in this transfer, regardless of the fact he just got past. Look at this, Tranter battling with Mayola, with Jordan Brazier, with Nick Lacey, and there's the man I spoke of, Mark Wells. Hard for Wellesley to jump straight in to a car he's never driven before and just get straight on the gas.
Especially mid-season, you know, the teams have already raced here with the first round. To jump in someone else's car and to be expected to be running up the front, it's a tough deal, but he's doing a good job holding his end of the bargain up so far.
Track is nice and wide right now, Jack. We've got a top and a bottom groove. Through the middle is quite slick. We see Jordan running just there. So the boys are mixing it up a fair bit here as well. There's a 16-year-old and a 17-year-old. You've got Jordan Brazier and Jake Tranter as Stewart now busies himself with lapping the field. Someone, too, got a bit of smoke going. This Monster 7 is hooked up. It's Michael Cunningham, the number 74. That's his boys riding on the top.
That's pretty cool as we look at Jordan Brazier in that 21 machine. He's doing a great job. Currently in that top 6 that should get him through. He needs to hold stations, keep it nice and straight, and get through, and he'll make his first A-main.
Well, what's a new... Oh, Alforce. Big problems here for Alforce. Ripped off the right rear wheel. Oh, man, that's a big hit for the Lacquer contracting car, and he climbs clear the Gawler race. So now, interesting situation out of all this. Gary Brazier, we didn't mention Gary. Gary's in this field as well. He too has to try and make the transfer. It might have to be at the expense of his son. Jack, have you ever raced against your dad?
Unfortunately, no, never able to do that. It'd be a pretty cool thing. I know young Jordan would be thinking that's pretty cool as well. It'd be pretty cool to be out there with your old man, so let's see if they can do it, but there's a lot of damage there for Leith Alfor's car. He's just from up the road in Gawler. We saw him touch the wall early in one of the heats as well, so they've done a bit of damage tonight. Hopefully they get it back going for later in the season.
Now, of course, Gary Brazier here running his own car, his family car. It's the white and red Capalaba Wreckers car. He's back in about 9th position right now. So Gary a long way out of the transfer because he's been running with the Rocket Industries team. Now back driving the Brazier family car his dad owns. Oh, contact then. And immediately it cut the left rear down on Caruso. It might have been the beadlock making contact with that left rear of Caruso.
They were racing hard. Was Steve Caruso that just caught a little bit of damage there, and it's gone flat left rear. You see someone spin into the infield, and there's Caruso there with that left rear puncture. Yeah,
it was Michael Pickles Cunningham in somewhat of a pickle, actually. Stuart, that's experience right there, Jack, where he's running on the racetrack.
Yeah, you can see the inside to the middle of the racetrack's really shiny finish, so that's slicking right off. And we see Shane Stewart running right up high on that dark stuff, looking for a lot of grip and making it work. That monster car looks like a good turn of speed.
Here's the father and son right now. Jordan Brazier in the red and white 21 and Gary in the white and red 21. Now, this is for transfer. Jordan is in the final position here. Dad Gary's got to run through and take him out of the spot.
That's pretty cool. Jordan wouldn't know that it's his dad right behind him, but Dad would be keeping a bit of an eye on him, making sure he's not doing anything too wrong, and they're racing hard to try and get through to that final position in the A-main.
Stewart coming through to put a lap down on Mozzie House. Guerin, that's Daryl Guerin there as well. Checkers are out. Jordan makes the show, but Gary doesn't. That'll make it interesting around the breakfast table tomorrow morning.
Well, the other good news story is this guy, Jake Tranter. Talk us through that B-main.
Mate, we got off to a good start. Got some early passes in the on the start. It was great. Then just followed Geordie for those few laps before that restart, and sort of just counting the cars in between the front pack and me. And I was in 7th, and just knew I had to get at least one of those cars. And worked around it and got past Geordie, and I think it was Caruso. So we're in the A.
Now, how cool is this? A 16-year-old kid versus a 17-year-old kid for the last transfer. This is awesome.
Yeah, mate, I was talking to him before the race. We were sort of talking about how the night's been and where we're starting, where we're racing next and all that. Getting along really well with Jordan. We started basically at the same time. It's great to start off with someone like that with that many generations behind him as well. It's great.
We'll duck into the pits ourselves for a quick break, and when we come back, it's time for the 30-lap George Tatnell Cup, the ENZED World Series Sprintcars, presented by Hog's Breath Cafe from Speedway City.
Well, it didn't take long to see these two going toe-to-toe on the track. Jordan Brazier holds off his dad to claim the last spot in the A-main. Geordie, talk us through that one, man.
It was a pretty good race. I was on the edge of making the A-main or not, and just made it.
Did you know it was Dad behind you?
No, I didn't.
Well, I can see you got a smile on your face. Is there a little bit of hurt right now as well?
No, I hope he does a good job. There's definitely no hurt. I suppose that's why sometimes it's hard racing in a fair week. You just, who knows? I probably could have made a move, but it's good to see him get in. I'll go up and have a chat with him because I think they should be taking 7, even though Blingy's out. It's unfortunate for him, but we're here to race, and I'll go talk to Wendy and try and convince her to put me in.
You can't blame a man for trying, Gary Brazier. He will too. He'll ask the question. It's not going to come to anything, unfortunately. We don't take reserves into the A-main. He'd be filthy. I know he was smiling, but I think he was grinding his teeth, Jack.
I think he just wants the opportunity to race against his son again. I think he thought that was pretty cool, but maybe he did the numbers wrong and didn't realise he was missing out. But anyway, great to have those boys here tonight as we get ready for the all-important A-main.
Pushing away, sprint cars are unique in that they only have the one gear. It's like a dog box system. The car is in gear or out, and so they require a push start to get the compression in the motor to build. You flip the ignition, squeeze the throttle, and you set fire to 900 horses.
Just a little bit of horsepower there, Wade, but I tell you what, They are incredibly fast, and it is a unique part where they're a direct drive system. You need a bump start, switch the fuel on, and off they go. As they cycle up now for the start of the race, get ready for the 4-wide salute.
And of course, power to weight is what's most impressive about these cars, Jack. They weigh a little over 600 kilos, so pretty well imagine a Hyundai Getz with 900 horsepower. That's the kind of horsepower comparison that you're working with. J-Mac will start on the front row. Whether he goes inside or outside's yet to be determined. Murcott, Robbie Farr, Steve Lyons, Keller. Let's go through the list. Tim Kading back on the 5th row alongside Trevor Green. Jamie Veal qualifies straight in. Ryan Jones is a gasser. Bradford out of 14. Cornt makes the show. Good work there. Pitt 2, nice work from him. Tranter and Jordan Brazier, a 17-year-old and a 16-year-old. Amazing, those guys off the back of the field. Bad luck for Blingy Muir. Reports coming through he has bruising to his back, but no vertebrae damage, which is the good news, Jack. Get well soon to Blingy. Look at all the iPhones blinging all the way around the racetrack. The fans starting to work out. We do the 4-wide now. You hold up your smartphone or your iPhone, wave it around and get the place looking a bit starry.
That's very cool. Pretty cool to watch the cars cycle up 4-wide, and you see that flash in the crowd. Great to see the emphasis there. Everyone gets behind it. They know this is the feature race. Everyone wants to watch it, and everyone's ready to race.
So set here at Speedway City before the boys head west for the ENZED World Series Sprintcars, presented by Hog's Breath Cafe, as they roll past the George Tatnell stand. I had the great pleasure of knowing George Tatnell for well over 20 years. He was a most unique individual, a flamboyant, passionate, dedicated, caring man for the sport of sprint cars, and a man who had the honour of winning an Australian speed car and an Australian sprint car championship. Only 3 people have done that: Robbie Farr and Philip March. Set to go.
It's very cool to have a prestigious round named after George Tatnell, so it adds a little bit more to this event that everyone wants to win. As we see, J-Mac has elected to take the inside, and Dave Murcott on the outside, and J-Mac has got a great start as he leads him into turn 1.
Once again, an excellent qualifying effort for Brad Keller, the young man out of South Australia in the faction car. McFadden out to the early lead. Murcott in second. Robbie Farr in third. They get around this place very quickly, don't they? 430 metres. Very flat, as you said, progressively turning left. You very rarely straighten up for long.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot smaller, this track, than some of the circuits that are coming up. The big tracks in Western Australia, they're next after this round. But this is still a cool little track and a favourite amongst many of the drivers.
Working up high, everybody at the moment. Nobody wants to go down low, closer to the curb. They're up on that cushion. We call it a cushion. It's a rail of dirt where the dirt or clay gets heavier up the top. The good guys run the right rear in it. On board with Brad Keller. She's a violent old ride inside these cars.
It is, and you can see just how hard he's working there. You can see his left arm and shoulders coming into it. We've really got to manhandle these sprint cars. A couple of ruts developing in the middle of a few of the corners, as we see there's someone in the fence background.
Yeah, we go yellow here. Lap 4 of 30 as Keller pops up the visor to get some cool. In fact, it's a red light. Cornt has gone upside down, and the C1 Speed indoor electric karting. Number 9, here's a look at the incident. Ooh, just got the wall very hard. Man, that was quick. It was brutally fast. The injectorsonline.com replay sees Steve just go hard into the wall. Something might have broken just then. Here's a replay from the car. So, wow, this will be graphic. Oh, just nailed that wall.
It doesn't look like any other competitors were involved. It looks like Cornt maybe just got it in a little high and a little fast. The right rear's tagged the wall. Slow motion now, and you can see the rear tag the fence. The front comes around, and you'll see the damage to our camera. There you go.
Oh, man. Makes you wonder if a component might have failed in that car too. It's very rare these guys will just drive into the wall. And Steve would be disappointed not the way that you want to damage the car before a massive 2,741 kilometre haul to the next round over in Western Australia. Oh, the number 9 KPC looks pretty battle ravaged. It just spent a fair bit of time with the guys with Brooke Tatnell racing it as we go to push away back at the restart. It was good looking at that Brad Keller shot before. A lot of times you get a bit of a look at the helmet and you get taken away from what's really going on with the steering wheel, just how busy they are. A lot of turns lock to lock, not at all like your world in supercars.
No, exactly right. You really need to manhandle the car. You're constantly searching for the grip on the racetrack whilst trying to slide it through and maintain that maximum speed. So you're really working hard. It may look easy, but I can tell you right now, it's definitely not.
There was a black tow truck that just towed the Corn car off. It's the Dirt Track Cowboys tow truck. It's been there for around 20 years at Speedway City. The boys very passionate about their racing. This sport made up of so many passionate volunteers. Certainly we couldn't do it without them. Here is Kyle Hurst battling with Luke Dillon down the back straight. Great shot down low out of turn 4. The boys hustle her in, on board with Luke Dillon out the back.
This is a cool shot looking at the rear of the race car. You can see the angle on the car there for Kyle Hurst. He's backing that thing in, and that is so cool to watch.
Looking that black shiny bit through the middle, that's where there's not real much grip, and you just see Hurst slide across it just then. You've got to put the right rear up where Luke runs it right now. Let's face it, Luke is a pretty big set of kahunas. He likes to run the wall.
That's what you need in this game. You need to have a massive amount of confidence in yourself and in your machinery, and you've got to drive the car flat out into the corner, and you're hoping that the tyres and the wing and everything works to your advantage.
Let's face it too, in the early part of the race, the car is not set up to an optimum performance level. It's full of fuel. Generally, you haven't really got your setup working. As we go on board the monster number 7 of Shane Stewart, running above the cushion then. He actually got the left rear up above there, searching for something different. Bearing in mind, he came out of the B main, so he knows he's got to pass a lot of cars.
He does, and that's one thing you touch on. The drivers are constantly searching for grip on the racetrack. In V8 supercars or bitumen racing, it's a lot like driving in the wet. Every lap's different. But when we're racing in the dry in V8 supercars, every lap's the same. The track stays consistent. So these guys need to be concentrating, keeping their eyes on the road, and really searching for the fastest part of racetrack.
On board with James McFadden, and David Murcott is hot in pursuit as McFadden puts a lap down on Tranter. Have a look how high he's running on the racetrack. The less experienced guys, they're down the bottom. And a guy like James McFadden knows he's got to go to the top. That's where the racetrack is best.
That little bit of clay there right in the middle of the lens just shows how hard it is to be a sprint car driver. That comes up on your visor. You need to keep pulling tear-offs off and keep focusing on the race.
Watching there is Tranter. He's in a bit of a battle here. He's got Robbie Farr now putting him a lap down, and also Stephen Lyons searching for him as well. Murcott pushing very hard in that number 83 car, spanned by his good mate Dave Sharman. And look at this, Robbie Farr starting to haul in Murky, and Lyons is there as well.
These are 3 of the heavy hitters in the game here, racing pretty hard for position, as Murcott's just got tangled up with a bit of lap traffic there.
Yeah, Hayden Pitt just got a bit of a don't argue for Murky. So head down the back straight away. Pitt again, staying down the bottom. Here comes Stephen Lyons, the horse haulage number 3. Jeez, just drove by Robbie. That would have caught Robbie off guard.
He's got some serious pace as we go on board with Steve Lyons. That car looks really fast. He's making that thing work up the top and down the bottom, which is good to see.
Just look at the fence to give you an idea of how quick these guys are going. Forget the racetrack. Oh, what's happened to Murcott? Murcott pulling in with this massive damage to the right rear corner of that car.
That could have happened when he had a bit of tingle with Pitt whilst he was lapping him. Looks like the wheel cover might have came off the inside of the rim, and perhaps it's filled full of mud.
Don't know what has happened there. McFadden, meanwhile, continuing now, putting a lap down on Jamie Veal, the active power steering number 6. That was close. Lyons, speaking of close, Lyons is starting to make some ground on J-Mac. Sean Bradford there, Ryan Jones, and also Tim Kading in the Quickie Motorsports car. TK crosses to put a lap on Jones. In fact, not a lap, put a positional change on Jones. And McFadden puts a lap on Bradford and comes after Jordan Brazier.
Well, you can see just how hard it is there for J-Mac. He's trying to lap cars and maintain the lead as we go on board now with Shane Stewart in that monster car. He's racing real hard, moving inside the top 6.
Just went past Luke Dillon and left him. It's amazing how a car can really come on. Remember that Stewart started at a position 15. He'd be up around top 7 right now, I would think.
He's doing a great job. Whenever you come from the B main to make it inside the top 10 in the A, you're doing a great job. It's good to see a bit more pace on board that monster machine.
Debris on the racetrack just then. Somebody ran over something just there. That's a piece of tyre. So someone has shredded a tyre there. So a bit of debris. Oh, it's Pesca. Daniel Pesca has cut down the left rear on the Gawler Farm Machinery number 27 J&J. And that will bring us under caution and an online.com, injectorsonline.com replay. That's what happened to Murcott. He's hit the rut in turn 3. The car has biked and it's slammed the wall.
That's a tough deal for Murcott because he's racing hard and he's just caught the rut in the middle of the racetrack and it sent the car airborne, and he was a passenger from there. It would have done a lot of damage to the car.
As we throw off some of the debris, we'll throw to a break and come back with more at ENZED World Series Sprintcars presented by Hog's Breath Cafe. Restart now, your injectorsonline.com restart for the Hog's Breath Cafe and ENZED presented World Series Sprint Cars. A little bit of the crash damage from the Daniel Pesca situation where that left rear wheel or tyre has shred. Now this is interesting. It gives Lyons a real chance to have a crack at the race leader, James McFadden, back in the restart situation. We're nose to tail, JP.
We're off racing again. This is the view from Luke Dillon looking backwards at Jamie Cobby, the local boy coming in for one show this year.
Yeah, the man they know as Cheese, raced predominantly in America in his early part of his career. Now here is Brad Keller charging hard. If you get a chance, just keep your eye on the bottom left-hand corner. Watch him work the steering wheel. Oh no, Tranter. Jake Tranter, unfortunately, has come unglued in the 45 car and ends up on its side. Might not have been too big a wreck. Let's have a look at it. And Sean Bradford. Oh, that's what happened.
Yeah, the injectorsonline.com replay showed that Jake Tranter was a bit unlucky there. Sean Bradford's had a bit of an off into the wall, and just as it's come down and landed, Tranter's just caught the back of Bradford's car with the right rear, and it's a soft rollover.
Disappointing for both those guys. The Kynot Produce 45 car on its side, and Sean Bradford looking to head home to Western Australia for the remaining rounds there. Now has to roll a car into the truck that may be damaged. Here's a look at the scene from the outside looking in. McFadden again will have to lead away with Lyons, Robbie Farr. Now Shane Stewart will be benefiting from all this too, I would think, Jack.
Absolutely. The teams and drivers can make a couple little adjustments from the cockpit. They can move the wing and get a bit more organised, have a bit of a look at the racetrack from the cockpit there as we see J-Mac in the number one machine. I'll tell you one thing about J-Mac, he's in career best form. He's someone that is at the top of their game, having just won that Australian title, carrying the number one. And it really impresses me, the complete race car driver. We've spoken about it all season, but his restarts after these safety car situations or restarts have been nothing more than impressive.
It's just like a gladiator in there, isn't it? You're in a steel cage, you're waiting for another thing with a big steel cage on the front to bump you into life. You know, in these restart situations as well, during a red, the crew chief will often come down to the fence and just try and communicate a little bit to James, up high, down low. Like, James would have no idea how much faster the guys are behind him. Is the bottom working better? Should I stay upstairs? So they have a bit of a series of communications, normally tapping your forehead when they're rolling around. He'll be looking for his crew chief to say, stay up high or get down low because the boys are coming. Bit of front wing damage on the McFadden car there, Jack.
There is, but we see, look, another great restart from James McFadden. He's pulled 3 or 4 car lengths on Steve Lyons already, and that's an important way to lead a race. You see Shane Stewart, he's got some pace aboard that machine. The first round here at the start of the season, they had no pace aboard that monster car, so they've turned things around.
Good job for Stewart, but well done too. Just to be in that kind of position is Brad Keller doing a very good job. Kyle Hurst as well, strong here tonight. Track is slicking right off on the bottom. Here is Dillon and Keller battling for position right now. This is for position number 6. Dillon trying to come right on in the 81 car. His dad was a gun around this place back in the day when it was known as Speedway Park in speed car racing. Keller again, very good at home this weekend.
Yeah, this is cool to watch again. Great to watch the drivers working hard. You can see there, he's really working the wheel, and you've got to work the wheel with the throttle pedal. You need to really drive the car with the throttle. You've got a lot of horsepower at your disposal, and you've got to make it work.
Here is J-Mac. You can see the front wing damage, the Ozfuel Gull front wing. Looks like it's just hanging on. He switches. Oh, man, he's good in traffic. Switches straight across on Jordan Brazier. Look at Lyonsy, just hunting back there as well. He too goes the inside, keeps his car speed right up. We go on board with J-Mac, the big KRE sticker. Oh, he didn't want to be caught down there. You must get by the lap cars every chance you get and not get held up. He got through okay, but Lyons might have made some ground there had he not.
The problem with the lap traffic is sometimes you can lose your momentum, and when Steve Lyons running behind him doesn't have that traffic, you can gain on him and put a move on James McFadden.
Just watching Lyons, he's getting very close now. On board again with J-Mac. Laps are starting to dwindle. McFadden's got to be so very careful here. He goes back to the bottom to put the lap down on Veal. Lyons stays up high. He's keeping a lot more car speed up high. Now he drops to the bottom. Oh, it is on now, JP.
It is. Lyons has really closed that gap in. I don't know if that front wing damage there, as you can see on the front of J-Mac's car, I'm not sure if that's slowing him down or not, but Steve Lyons looks to have a pretty quick race car.
Back up high now. Lyons is on the bottom. Oh, it's on now. J-Mac might have even had a quick chance to see the number 3 was there, and now he's got to tense up. Not many laps left in this one. Lyons is carrying plenty of car speed. It's on at the city.
It is. I don't reckon J-Mac would have known that Steve Lyons was that close, and he's just shoved the nose in, and now I definitely reckon he knows he's there.
He went back to the top. They're coming up on Trevor Green and the Natrad number 4. Laps are dwindling. Lyons is coming. Here we go. Final lap. Final corner. Lyons goes to the top and he gets him. You are joking. McFadden, he hesitated for a split second. And Lyons went around the top of the lap car and got them both.
Look at that, you can see J-Mac just got stuck behind Trevor Green. He was committed to running the bottom, and Steve Lyons was lucky enough to be able to get around the top, gas it up and past him. It's a bit unlucky for J-Mac, but if you're Steve Lyons, you take it when you can.
In the most dramatic fashion you could possibly imagine, last lap, last corner, an absolute Hail Mary from Stephen Lyons. Well done, man.
Yeah, thank you. I just obviously got a little bit lucky there with lap traffic, and I tried to hang on to him as long as I could and hope that there would an option come up like that. But I just had a really good car. James just got caught up in lap traffic. I feel for him a little bit, but I got done the same the other night. So that's the way that's racing, and you just try and put yourself in the right spot. And fortunately tonight we got squeezed through there.
You made the conscious decision to go to the bottom. You showed him the bottom, and then do you think that was your chance gone?
Yeah, I did actually. I thought I was hoping. I didn't think I was going to get another shot. So when I did that, I actually was hoping I could make it, but he was just too quick up there. So let him back by, and obviously, got back by him.
Wow, he's still not really amped up. He's a very intense bloke, is Stephen Lyons. He got the win by McFadden, Farr, Hurst and Stewart charged back from position 15 through to 5th. That's a massive effort. Well done, Keller. Dylan 7th. I don't think he'll be overly happy with that. Cobby, strong run for him in the top 10. Likewise, Ryan Jones and Tim Kading, not his best night either. So, point situation to be very interesting after this as we head west.
Well, that was a tough race, and this guy led 29.9 laps out of that one. Bad luck, man.
Yeah, mate, it's all good. We just got hung up behind the lap car there. Just didn't want to go high and get hung up in the fence, but we should have gone higher. Good job to Lyons. He done a hell of a job and got the job done. But we're happy with that. The car's in one piece, and it gives us good points all going into Western Australia.
And so we wrap things up from Adelaide and head west, 2,741 Ks to Manjimup and Albany, Bunbury and Kwinana. The big tracks are looming as the championship heats up.